And are you refreshed? Good. Now what?
Hello, Abraham. I don't know why, but for some reason, this thought just came to my mind when Esther said, "Suck it up, buttercup." I chose this week to come here, and I got in the car this morning at around 3 a.m. to be here from Fort Lauderdale, and I'm extremely grateful that I'm here. Thank you for all that you do. I heard Sirius XM radio this morning for the first time, and I tuned into Pulse Radio, and I thought of Esther, and I wrote down the song that came on, and I wanted to read one of the phrases. It was a Rachel Platten song, and the words were, "I'll tell the world, I'll sing a song, it's a better place since you came along." So thank you, Esther, for all you do.
We are all in this together, aren't we?
Yes.
Yeah.
I had to take the cruise control off twice during the drive. Once was for a semi-truck, and the other one was for a vehicle that had Alabama plates. And when I was in the hot seat last year, you spoke of the rapper from Alabama. So that was another sign for me. I'd like to have a leading edge conversation with you regarding creating in the moment, masterful creation, and distinctions of being aligned, tuned in, tapped in, turned on, and being with people, and not making anything good or bad.
Before you go further, and we want you to wrap back around and give all this to us again, but we want to say something just to sort of get this off on a stable footing, and that is creating in the moment. There are two things that you predominantly do that cause you to create in the moment. One is you're having a negative moment where you're putting something in the vortex. Remember earlier we said all of your creation is happening in step one. Does that shock you? Because it causes you to focus. You never know more clearly what you do want than when you're looking right at what you don't want. And so one of the two times is when you're experiencing something you don't want. That's when you're creating in the moment. The other way that you create in the moment is by being in a state of allowing, where you can allow yourself to be receptive to impulses that move you in the direction of what you want. That's what creating in the moment is. And when you think about it, the first part's really easy because you can't stop creating in those moments. There's no possible way that you cannot continue to have step one moments. And sometimes you think that what you're hearing from us is negative emotion is not a good thing, so don't ever have any step one moments. That's not what we're saying. We're saying let your step one moments happen as they naturally will, and be happy for the step one moments that have created something in the vortex. So that part of it you can't control. It's gonna happen. Life's coming to you. Sometimes it feels like it's coming at you. You're doing those step one moments all the time. And step two is source takes care of it. That's not your work. But the creating in the moment that you're getting at is, it's just practicing creating an atmosphere so that I can receive. That's all it is. The best possible way that you could be creating in the moment, since you can't do anything about the step one stuff because that's going to happen, it's just going to happen. The best possible thing you could do to create in the moment is find as many ways to feel as good as you can possibly feel. As much stuff that blisses you out, as much stuff that you enjoy. In other words, that's as rough as it gets.
Last year you said, people are going to say, what's gotten into you? And that's true, sort of, because I feel that way mostly. And when I'm in meditation every morning, it's not to fix something or to do anything. It's just to quiet my mind, to receive, and to get in that inspirational space. And the people are showing up and coming in ways I can't even begin to imagine.
Yeah, they're just surprising you and delighting you all over the place because you've created the nucleus, the receptiveness that allows that. Yeah.
I see now being in that high-flying space, and I'm able to see the distinction of other people being where they're at, not making anything of it, not taking it off of my high-flying space, but being in that creative moment with that. Know that that's my point of attraction as well as theirs. Maybe they're aware of it or not, that's irrelevant. However, seeing maybe somebody's not quite there, not taking me off, but then I'm inspired to share what I feel or what I'm doing.
What you just described is what we've been talking about here today. You are not influenced away from your connection by what you are seeing, which means you have enough momentum in your alignment going on that you can actually observe without your vibration shifting. That's what seeing through the eyes of Source is. That's what true upliftment is. Do you know what you just said to us? Abraham, I can meditate and quiet my mind and get in the receiving mode, but I can also be right in the throes of life and having prepared myself so well for the receiving mode that I'm good in all kinds of environments that I used to not be so good in. I used to need a quiet, dark room, and now I've got so much momentum going in my alignment that I can be anywhere and still be inspired to the perfect thing in this moment. That's cool.
And also seeing bits and pieces of all of our friends who were here before in spaces that I've been in my life where I used to make that wrong. I would make people wrong. I would make past experience wrong. And I get that it's all a part of wherever everybody is, and there's no right or it's just their view. And it's
then
the
you know what you're doing?
distinction.
When you have found a way to make peace with your past, you know what you're doing? Changing the past. Because it was only perceptual anyway. What past is the real one anyway? Who would you like to write the history of what's going on in your nation today? Who could accurately write it with all the different vantage points? What could they possibly put in the history book that would have any real form of any true reality when it's such a combination of so many different perspectives? So when you are able to feel good about a past that at one time you didn't feel good about, you're seeing it through the eyes of Source, you are changing the past. And the parts about it that bothered you can therefore never come back and bother you again. Because those parts don't exist. Because they only existed in your perception anyway.
And people show up differently.
They do. Oh, changing your neighbors. How you feel about people is influential. When you have discovered how to truly love, the loveliest people shows itself to you. The loveliest parts of them come out of the woodwork and surprise you. Whoa, where did that come from? I'm used to you being different.
And I remember you shared when something to the extent of, I remember when I made you a bitch or whatever perspective was like the worst perspective you're bringing out in that person, because I can see it and get it. And it had such a profound shift with my mom and my family and my parents, and to see them and be there with them, just really, to really wholeheartedly just be with people.
And then here's what you're really reaching for, being the teacher born to be, an uplifter that you are. So once you get the hang of it, and you have, of your own alignment steady, and therefore your own influence steady, then you serve as a sort of satellite dish. You've beamed in the signal so that they can catch a whiff of it easier. You're influencing others to the same joyful connection that you are enjoying. Yeah. And they might come, they might not, but them not coming and that not bothering you is a really good sign.
And it's so funny because I remember when I looked at people a certain way, especially the family, because they're the greatest fun. And I now see where they're like, oh wow, by my example of what I'm being and doing, not trying to fix them or looking at them, just leaving them alone, that they want to spend time with me more. They're interested in what I'm doing in my life and they want to be with me. I know, I get it, but to know and get it and to have the lesson or to hear it is so completely different than life experience. And this week, I've been experiencing something more where I felt somebody came into my life where maybe they didn't know where they were going, and I saw that, and she came in, and through my guidance and with our interaction and through what I saw with her and her with me, I felt like she expanded and so did I, and the goosebumps.
It's always that way. Can't be otherwise.
And before, I never experienced like the whole of me was shaking. Like I was vibrating, like just pulsing through me. Every hair on my body was standing up because I was like, this must be the magical moments that the life is really made of, like true, real expansion.
What a moment like that is really indicating is you moving into a fuller accessing of the wholeness of who you are. And the reason that it felt that way to you physically is because that sensation was you getting up to speed with you. When Esther first began speaking for us, and first she was sitting because she was so unstable, the mixing of the energies was unsettling to her. But then eventually as she began standing, the coming of Abraham was the way she described it. Really, it was the lifting of Esther that was happening. It was our dominant energy and her being close enough to it that we could call her into it, but it gave her a sensation of swooning, a little disorientation for a little bit. But she doesn't have that anymore. But it doesn't mean that the alignment is not as complete. It just means she didn't have to go so far to get it. You see what we're getting at? And so these sensations that you have are about your energy adjusting upward. Just like negative emotion is your energy adjusting downward, or it's you being influenced away from your natural influence. And we want to just punctuate that, because everyone that you're meeting, it is natural for them to be drawn to you when you are in your alignment. And the more you're in alignment, the more you begin to realize how easy it is to influence people to that. That's why music concerts are filled to the brim. People want to feel good.
I like to speak my connection with nature. We spoke of that last time as well, because I always have signs, symbols, and gifts from birds and different things, 3 birds flying by. And recently, within this past year, 2 of my cats I had made their transition. I know they're here with me now, Sasha at October the 20th and then Mia on December the 5th. And they were together their whole adult life. And I was leaving before Mia made her transition, and she was a little weak for the past month that she was alive, just doing her thing. There was no sickness, it was just of age and whatnot throughout the house. So I was getting ready to leave that weekend, and she wasn't eating for about 10 days, and then she got up and came back from getting my hair cut, and I went into the shower, usually close the bathroom door, and there's a glass door in the shower. And I went in there before I was going to Canada for the vacation, and she actually managed to get up. She wasn't getting up. For like 2 or 3 days before, she actually managed to get up and crawl into the bathroom and sit down at the mat and look up at me through the door, and she was meowing at me. And I knew when I was going to leave that she was going to make her transition, and that was her connecting with me, saying thank you. And I cried, but it wasn't tears of sadness, it was just appreciation. And
isn't it nice that you were tuned in enough, and she was tuned in enough, that you had that understanding about one another?
And she did make her transition when I was gone, and
and there was no pleading, there was no save me, there was no I'm worried about this. It was just this knowing experience, just wanting to feast her eyes on you again, and to remind you of what you know, because she didn't need you to know that she knew.
It was my reminder.
Right.
So within the past 2 weeks, I went to get a listing appointment because I'm a realtor. And we went to a house, and a door flew open, and a golden retriever ran out and came up to me and stared at me and was looking at me and started licking at me, and the lady said, "Mia, come back." And then within 5 days, I was looking at my Facebook news feed, and my friend Marka, who she works a lot with the Broward Sheriff's Office and first-time responders, they were working with the dog, Sasha, and it was the same golden retriever on the news feed that was there that she was commending. And I said, wow, that was them saying hi to me.
So these things that sometimes humans want to call coincidence, meaning it is a coincidence, it's a cooperative incident, but they want to call it chance or luck or not significant. When you know what you know, so that you are in the receiving mode, then all kinds of rich communications can be experienced by you, because you're in the receptive mode and you don't miss them, and you don't chalk them off to unimportant things. You accept them as the meaningful thing that they are.